As you talk sports, they were talking boxing. Proudly joining the Trenches Gym by Daley. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you very much.
So obviously, recently we've just come off the back of the Prime card, and you've been very vocal, succeeding that. But if you look at it retrospectively, did you enjoy the card?
Yeah, it was good. I heard that they might be putting together a Prime Card 2 next year as well. So it's another busy year next year. Yeah.
So obviously, we'll focus on the crossover stuff first, then we'll get back into some of your professional fighters. So obviously, you've been very vocal on Instagram about the aftermath of the Prime card, saying that a lot of the people who've been getting onto a lot of the fighters, they don't speak about boxing. Do you still stand by that and think that do you think as these children grow up, they'll understand more what goes into these fights, and that these influencers are not going to be professionals, not going to be perfect, they're going to make mistakes?
Yeah, and that's why I try to bring my expertise to the scene to educate, people, the fan base in the influencer scene, just so they can understand boxing a bit more. I don't claim to know everything, but I like to educate them. Yeah.
And obviously, with you training professionals, do you think it's harder, or difficult to adapt the training for influencers compared to the professionals?
Yeah, because obviously when you're training a pro that has had amateur career, they've got the basic knowledge there. So when you're telling them to do certain things, they know how to apply it quicker. Like with people like my brother Kenny or Deji, it takes a longer for it to sink in. So it's a lot more repetition going on every single day, and that's draining for them, draining for me. So yeah, it's harder.
And then touching more a bit on Kenny and then later Deji, obviously the fight didn't go Kenny's way, it was a close fight, it was a scrappy fight. How come you didn't think it didn't go your way and you didn't get the victory?
Just experience. Kenny didn't go in there with an influencer, he went in there with a former pro. And Anthony Taylor, I don't like the way he boxed Kenny, like just holding and for the whole time and hitting and holding. But at the same time, I understood why he done that, because that's the only way he could have beat Kenny, is by adopting those tactics. And on Kenny's part, he's still learning and he's inexperienced. I was thinking the other day, I was like, it's crazy to think that his first ever fight was March 2022. We're in 2023. March 2022, Kenny had his first ever fight, and the transformation has been phenomenal. So, and within those 7 fights, he's taken on the big challenges like Sensei, who had 10 years fighting experience. Anthony Taylor in the last fight, who's a former pro. So you got to respect Kenny for taking on these challenges, but people have to understand, effectively, influencers are like amateur boxers. Amateur boxers, they win some, they lose some. And it's all about learning. He's not a professional boxer, so he's gonna make mistakes. And that's what was the difference in that fight, is that Kenny just, the experience of, someone grabbing him the whole fight, he didn't really know how to deal with that.
Certainly. And I'm not sure what you think, but I certainly think after Deji went in with Floyd, he improved a lot. Do you think that with Kenny going in with someone like AT, who's knows how to handle in the clinch with his MMA background, do you think that can improve his own skill set, clinching at the right moments?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's all about learning. It's all about being in the gym, progressing every day, taking your craft serious. And Kenny's very dedicated. It's, that fight against Anthony Taylor won't, make him depressed or anything like that. He'll be straight back in the gym, learning and being a student to the game.
And last final touches on the influencer boxing. When can we hope to see Kenny and Deji back out?
Kenny will be next year now. He's had so many fights in a short space of time. I think he's been one of the most active influencers fighting, so he deserves a break. One thing you got to understand about boxing is, all right, training, fighting, but you got to learn how to rest your body as well. So he deserves a holiday. He deserves to go away and relax himself and relax his mind, most importantly, and come back stronger next year, a more improved Kenny next year. With Deji, We're just waiting on news. It could be this year. It could be the beginning of next year. We're just going through some things behind the scenes, and then people will know.
Interesting. And obviously in December, we've got the return of two of your professional fighters, George and Martin. Obviously, Martin suffered a bit of a setback with the injury. What can we expect to see on December? Is it straight back to where we left off?
Well, with Martin, you probably see a knockout. With George, I hope a knockout. I mean, I love knockouts. That's what people have to understand about me as a coach. So we train to be intelligent, work behind the jab, you know, the right fundamentals, but people want to see knockouts. That's what gets the big promoters' attention. That's what gets you on TV. So intelligence behind, you know, being dangerous.
And then going forward, if all goes well and Martin gets that victory, we're into some high numbers. Are we going to be looking at some titles soon?
Definitely next year. Martin's going into the most important part of his career now. He's 10-0, so now 10 fights, undefeated. Now he's going into that second phase. 10 to 20 is very important now, so we'll look to pick up some intercontinental championships that will give him a world ranking, and hopefully within the next 2 years, he'll be fighting for a world title. He's still only 26, so he's coming into that. He's 10-0 at 26. He's sitting at the right number right now, so he's going into the most important stage now. So from 26 years of age to 28, I say around 28, looking for his first world title.
And final thing, obviously on Saturday, big fight, Fury versus Ngannou. Obviously with someone you've got involved with crossover boxing. What do you think of this? Because it is slightly different. We're talking about a heavyweight champion going to defend. Not his title isn't on the line, but you know, someone who should be defending his WBC title against an MMA fighter. What do you make of that? Do you think it's okay? Do you think it's?
Yeah, I think it's great. It brings the two worlds together from MMA, boxing. There's no difference to what influencer boxing is doing, bringing, you know, an audience for the eyes on it, the real boxing people, you know. So I think it's good. What people have to remember, this has been done all the way back to Muhammad Ali days, where Muhammad Ali got in there, I think, with a wrestler, and you know, so it's been done before. Obviously, they're making crazy amounts of money. It's in Saudi. Is it in Saudi?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I still expect him to do what Floyd Mayweather done to Conor McGregor and just wear him down a bit. Make him Ngannou throw all these heavy shots, because that's all he have against Fury. And once he starts fading and getting tired, then Fury will take him out.
Thank you very much for your time, Daley. I really appreciate it.